Hey guys, welcome to another edition of Books and Brews review. Today it is, let's see, 9:30 in the morning, so we're skipping the brew portion of this one. I figured it was a little too early to be down in a few beers, but we are going to do the review of Marsh King's Daughter. Karen Dionne. Let's see, Karen is a Michigan author, so pure Michigan, loves supporting local artists. She grew up in the UP for quite a bit of her life, it sounds like, from reading her bio, and she moved to Detroit. This is an international bestseller, I believe. International bestseller. Lee Child's are on the front saying, and I quote, sensationally good psychological suspense. So, I kind of happened upon her. I have heard about the book in the past. Never really caught my attention, but I wasn't really reading thrillers and psychological stuff back then. I was more into the young adult kind of fantasy genre when I first stumbled across her. So, kind of forgot about the book and her. Fast forward to, about 2 weeks ago, I ran into a customer at work. They were talking about how much they loved the book. I was like, you know what? I didn't realize that she was from Michigan. And so she had just released a new book, Wicked Sister, I believe it's called. So I picked up that and The Marsh King's Daughter. Figured I'd start with Marsh King's Daughter, which I've heard so many just raving reviews about. So I sat down, gave it a good read, and this is my review of the book. So I'm going to do my best, again, per usual, not to have too many spoilers. But still give a pretty good solid review of what the book's about, its themes, things like that. Let's just start with the overall, did I like it? And we'll kind of go through a letter grade system like we were in school. And then I'll kind of break down a little more detailed about the book and my other opinions of it. So, at the end of the day, when I read that last page, did I like the book? And yes, very, very much so. Did it make my top 10 list? No, it did not make my top 10 list. That's a hard list to get onto, obviously. Top 10 books of all time that I've personally read. Very rarely do I find myself making edits to that list, so that's not saying too much negative at all about the book. I would give this book a solid A minus. I really did enjoy it. Somebody compared it to Where the Crawdad Sings, which I haven't read, but I know quite a bit about that book. With the difference, one of the main differences, Where the Crawdad Sing, which is a book that most people I know that love to read have read and rave even more about. That one's about a young girl who grows up like in the swamp area down south, away from society, raised, kind of on her own, living off the land kind of thing. Pretty similar situation in Marsh King's Daughter. A young girl, 15 or 16, maybe even a little bit younger, gets abducted in the UP. Basically, a strange man kind of walks up, says, "Hey, I'm looking for my dog," and they never see her again. Come to find out, she is taken as a young bride, living off the grid in like a marsh, basically. Thus the name of the book, The Marsh King's Daughter. And it's a Native American man who steals her away and basically makes her a bride. They have a child, and it's the story of the child's life. And I like it a lot for the simple fact that it's not black and white. What I mean by that is there's a lot of shades of gray. The main character loves her dad, but she also knows that, comes to find out that, he's pretty much insane. But he was a good father for the most part to her. And so there's a battle inside of her, coming to terms with what he did to her mother, what he has done to her in some situations, but also an appreciation of everything he taught her too. So that's the internal conflict, and then there's an external conflict throughout the story as well. They actually get rescued when she's a teenager, and basically, her father goes away to prison. Well, in the modern time, the timeline that's the current in the book, he escapes, and they start playing like a game of cat and mouse, right? I thought the writing was excellent. I thought there was never any stifling dialogue. The last few books I've read outside of that, I've had parts of these books where the dialogue just seems so trite and unrealistic that it pulls me out of the book, and then There's little chunks of it here and there. But this one was real smooth. I really liked the inner dialogue, the thought process, the hunting of each other. There's some pretty brutal parts of the book. Some situations that definitely fall into a subgenre of horror, like kind of realistic horror, like the horrors that this, daughter and mother at the hands of this crazed guy, and then the horrific aspect of this woman who's now a young woman, and this child who is being pulled away from her own childhood. Like, she's so warped thinking her dad isn't a bad person, and then all of a sudden she finds out all this crazy stuff about him, kidnapping her mom, all that stuff. So, pretty awesome book. I would say if you're a fan of any type of psychological thrillers, this one's a little darker, so I'd put it up there with Gillian Flynn. A little less like B.A. Paris. B.A. Paris isn't quite as dark usually. She's a good, really awesome, suspenseful psychological thriller author, but Gillian Flynn can get into some pretty horrific scenes in there, especially with their one Dark Places. So I'd put this more with her. If you're a little squeamish, maybe you want to walk away from it. There's a couple of scenes that involve torture and things like that are pretty gnarly. But yeah, really awesome read. A-. That's a phenomenal, almost perfect read for me. Especially right now, we're as I'm recording this, we're breaking into fall. Halloween's right on the corner. This isn't a horror book by any means, but you get that element of kind of like, ooh, man, this is creepy. What the hell's going on in this book? WTF. There's like no ROFLs, no LOLs. IDK. I think it's really good. You guys should read it. Let me know what you think of the book, or if you have read the book, do you agree with me? What would you rate it? Would you give it letter grade A through F? I'm really excited to check out her next book, Wicked Sister. So I'll be reading that fairly soon. My TBR list is still pretty stacked high, but yeah, guys, really good book. I do have a brew with me. Actually, it's a Diet Dr. Pepper, one of my go-to carb-free drinks. So this is my brew. Kind of cheating because when I think of a brew, I'm honestly thinking of beers, and I would love to have a beer, but again, a little too early for me. We're coming up on our 8 minutes. It's a little bit too close for comfort to that 10-minute mark. I'm going to wrap it up, guys. I got a couple more reviews to catch up on, so we'll be posting those out. So keep an eye out for Paul Tremblay's new release, Survivor Song. I finished this last night. We'll be putting that review up very soon. Alex North's, that's a hard word to say for some reason. The Shadows is also, I just finished that one earlier this week. So, kind of a horror-themed reviews coming up. Alright guys, I'll see you at the next time. Please don't forget to hit the share button. Share it on social media if you like the video. Subscribe if you can, it's free. The subscribe button's down here. I'll try to get one of those fancy, like, introductions, like, cut-through scenes where it's like, click the button, and try to be like a real booktuber. But until now, what you see is what you get. Happy reading, everybody! Yeah!